years. And they're moving toward putting smaller engines in these vehicles and coming up with other ways of dealing with it. Well, I mean, police cruisers running all the time. I guess a hybrid police cruiser that had the kind of performance that the typical cars that they need, where when they're stopped, the motor doesn't have to necessarily be running, might be a solution, but it's not. The technology, although is available, is not in police cars yet. So,
but that's the point I've been trying to make.
I don't know how the police department can solve that problem.
But we should actually. That's why I'm trying to say we should be sending the message down to the department heads that that's what we want you to start doing. We want you to make a concerted effort to try to have some kind of fuel conservation improvements in your department. See what you can do.
Mr. Chair.
Because we're not going to increase the dollars.
So you're in agreement with what I just said?
I am, but I don't think we should increase the dollars. And I know we haven't, but you just said we should increase the dollars a few minutes ago, but I don't think we should. I think we should leave it the way it is, and I think that is the approach that's being proposed tonight from a dollar
I
perspective.
don't recall saying that we should increase the dollar.
Oh, I thought I heard you say
No,
that.
actually, I'm going to go back and look at increasing the dollar amounts based upon the comments I got from the board this evening, and come back with an actual projection based upon what our burn rate is this year times the number of gallons, and come up with a projection for this budget night.
You could do that.
My suggestion is, Greg, and this could probably help you, is just look at the last 2 to 3 years average as far as average gallons used, combined by department, whatever it's going to be, because you've got the purchase orders, how many gallons of gasoline we've purchased and expended during the fiscal year. And you're going to get an average of what the usage is. And then you multiply it times
The cost.
$4 a gallon, and there you're at. There you are. But it's knowing that it's going to fluctuate. Maybe we get a break because there's no taxes on it and things of that nature, so maybe it's a little less.
Yeah.
But as far as conserving, sure, we should be doing some conservation if we can. But I'm not looking to have the police department compromise public safety, the safety of the officers, public safety, and their response time and ability to respond. Same thing with the fire department. How many gallons they're going to use in the ambulance depends on the number of runs. The dump truck with the DPW is not very efficient. So yeah, you can economize to some degree, but I'm looking to economize, but not compromise.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I mean, getting back to the original point of the conversation, which was the consolidation of the fuel. From my perspective, I think everything that you're suggesting that needs to be done or could be done can be done through centralized control, because you have it under one auspices. You can still do the same programs. You can still have meetings with the department heads and tell them, listen, we need to cut back or whatever we need to do. And you can do that. It's centralized. I can see if the confusion, even though it's been done this way for years and other towns do it, having them go directly to the finance department and ask for an increase or what have you. That's how many departments that have to go to the finance director. We can go through one person and just simply centralize everything, and I would assume better manage. And a lot of companies do that. They centralize for efficiency to better manage whatever department it is at whatever cost it is. So, and I think the consensus was that last meeting was that we'll go with this, whether it was 3-2 or whatever the vote. The consensus was. I think we should finish it and move on.
You have a budget?
Yeah. Number 4. I still don't understand why we're moving the C position now under the DPW. I don't think the CP has anybody even had a discussion with the CPC about this.
Position is not filled.
Right, but now I see if you read the notes you gave to us, you're going to be giving contractual service money to the DPW now.
Right.
Why don't we just leave it with the CPC?
Oh, because it doesn't work. Because the intent of this position was to be an assistant planner / GIS person. And I think from Mr. Carnevale's presentation, we have not had our GIS system up to date. It's been done through consulting services through the CPC, and it's my belief that it's more efficiently handled through the DPW, and the DPW has gone out and hired or has a consultant that's come in and done an assessment for us. So given the fact that we're providing those services through a consultant that will be working through the DPW, there's no reason to have this position in the CPC.
Have we even had a discussion with the CPC, which is unilaterally doing this without even any discussion with the CPC?
I'll be having a discussion I have a department head meeting on Wednesday with all my departments.
Can I ask maybe the chairman, including you, to have a discussion with them? Can you reach out to Warren Pierce on this? I just think out of respect to them, there needs to be some more discussion.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that, but they don't have this position now.
Correct.
But they always have. When it was funded, they had it.
There was a position
And when we get
7 years ago that was GIS.
Yeah.
The CPC at one point changed that position to an assistant planner / GIS. It was determined, and I'm going to speak as my personal opinion, those are two different skill sets. A person who is an expert in GIS is not necessarily someone who's an expert in planning. And especially when that person is working 20 hours or 15 hours a week, it's real tough to find that skill set. We could not find that skill set, which is why the position went unfilled. The CPC was utilizing a portion of these monies to pay for a consultant to periodically come in and update the GIS system. That system did not work because it was done on a haphazard occasional basis. Dick has identified a consultant and a proposal and put money in his budget to rebuild our GIS system. I think it's critical, and I think we need to put our monies to do that. And if it means we don't fund this vacant position, so be it. I feel that the services are more critical in the DPW department.
And all I would ask is that, out of fairness
Of course.
to the CPC, is that there at least be a discussion with Warren Pierce and maybe with the chairman in attendance. I think we owe
Thank you. Yes, of course.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Chair?
Mr. You.
Yeah, I guess, I don't know if we're trying to help or we're trying to direct here. But the TA is coming up with ideas of how he wants to manage this town. And it just seems that we're micromanaging every effort that he tries to make. And I understand the questions, all right? But what I don't understand is the lack of the trust that we don't seem to have in the town administrator, or the confidence that he can decide for himself and make a decision on how it is best to manage the town. And not giving him that confidence causes constant disruptions in the efficient flow and management of the town. Again, I understand questions, all right, but to micromanage everything that's being suggested, all right, rather than looking for understanding, we're looking to our idea is better, or my idea is better, or your idea is better. We need to be productive in our approach, okay? Because we're asking some of the right questions, but we're not asking them in the right way. We're not able to get the answers or the solutions that we're looking for, all right? Because we're not trusting it. He came up with an idea with fuel, and we've been speaking hours on it. That should. It's his idea. I know we're past that now. We finally got past it. Okay, now we're going down to another item. All right, I understand it's important to review, but it's also important to understand that he is the professional that we hired to do things on our behalf and on behalf of the town. So he's the professional. He recommends to us, and we should appreciate and respect his knowledge.
Jeff,
And
this
run
is
with
a
it.
budget review.
I know
Isn't this
what
we're
it
supposed
is.
to do? And all I'm asking is that out of respect to the CPC, a position or a function that has
I
been,
thought we passed that.
I'm just trying to explain. I'm giving you an opportunity to answer this question because he's obviously frustrated that I'm questioning this particular line item again, because all I'm asking, if you talk to the people at the CPC, they had no idea that this was now going to move outside of their scope and move under the DPW. And I just think it's wrong. There should at least be some internal discussion about it. That's all I'm asking. And I think if you were in the CPC, you would like to know that this is being taken away from you and moved into the DPW. Maybe in the end, everybody will be happy about it. All I'm asking is that we just communicate. That's called management. It's called leadership. That's what we're supposed to do here. And yeah, I'm going to question every dollar. I am. I'm sorry. That's what I'm going to do. It's a budget. I don't know how many budgets you've done, but I've done budgets in every business I've had and everything I do now. And that, yeah, we question it. That's what we do. And then when we walk out the door, then we should leave it alone and let him manage. But I'm not going to agree with everything he's proposing. There's nothing wrong with me disagreeing with the way we're approaching gasoline, Jeff. So it's not, I'm not questioning him. I actually like some of the stuff, most of the stuff that he's done, but there's a couple. So yes, I'm going to question it. I'm sorry, I'm not going to stand here and be mute. I'm not a rubber stamper.
It's not a question of being a rubber stamper. It's a question of he's been hired to do a job for us. He's been here longer than many of us, some of us, I should say, and he has the experience and the knowledge of what to do. I'm not saying rubber stamp. Okay, all I'm saying is that when we get an answer, we have to be smart enough to know that what he's telling us makes sense.
Okay, that makes sense to you? That number 4 makes sense to you?
The consolidation of the fuel?
Number 4, Jeff.
The
CPC.
assistant planners.
It's his job. He manages his
Jeff,
he manages the town.
I'm
Jeff,
telling you, the
Jeff,
CPC is unaware.
Okay. I mean, that's all. We have a
Let's come
disagreement.
back
That's
to
fine.
let's come back to the ground here. Well, Mike raised a question about it, and Greg immediately turned around and said, "I agree. I'll
Okay, no
talk."
problem.
Thank
So
you.
why it's ended.
It's all I'm asking.
He agreed that
I'll touch base.
there should be a communication.
Okay. Number 5?
Just I'm for. I concur with the way Greg's approaching it at this point, only because backfilling a position that's been vacant for years, benefits associated with it, contract
This
it
is
out
actually
for
a
less
step.
money, and get the services done. And again, the services that we need in the GIS area have not been met for a few years, and that does need to be addressed for sure. And this is probably the most cost-effective way of doing it, whether it's on the DPW or CPC.
And I'm sorry, the CPC might say, well, we think we can do a better job. I would ask the board to do is be respectful of my judgment and say, no, you can't.
Yeah.
Because I've looked at it over a period of time, and it's not that the decisions that we made are easy decisions. They're not. And the whole budget is subject to everyone saying, no, I disagree and I don't like it. But understand that they might not like the decision.
No, they might
And I would ask the board to
communicate.
But I do concur that there should be the courtesy of a discussion prior to any motions made at town meeting. Anything else needs to take place because they were proposing it, and not everybody's necessarily buying into it wholeheartedly the way that they're proposing to take care of the need. That's okay. So
Thank you.
everybody's right.
What's the next one?
Number 5. I see there's a line struck out through the remove assistant dog officer position. And I thought we had a discussion at our last meeting where that line wasn't there. So I think whether the board want to just pass over it and move on, or what do you want to do?
I can tell you why there's a line through it. The reason why the line is through it is because we've identified cuts in other areas to balance the budget.
And there was some risk associated with removing that from a legal point of view that we don't need to go into right now.
Okay. You're okay with it?
Am I okay with it? No, not necessarily. But again, I'm not going to agree with everything that's been proposed, just as you said. I hate a rubber stamp, but I'm not necessarily going to second guess if the town administrator and the police chief feel as though the need is still there, and we find it necessary to fund it for the proper reasons on a needed basis. Then fine, I'm okay with it. I may not agree with it at this particular point in time, but I'm not going to throw the baby out with the bathwater and no one. Police department budget or the budget as a whole because of the $14,500 item.
Right.
But I think it needs to be looked at. I think we need to justify the positions for sure. That we really do need those number of hours, and that we have proper controls in place to ensure that we're getting the number of hours that we're paying for.
I only mentioned it because when we met last time, that line wasn't there. So I think that's our responsibility to at least ask a question. There's no note associated with it, so again, I'm not trying to question this. I'm just, if you noticed, that wasn't there last time. And I don't have any other further questions.
other questions? Okay. Anybody else?